good afternoon. Welcome to Mount Pleasant Backley for the first of the county matches against the Australian Aboriginal tourists. Certainly a very historic occasion for both Great Britain Amateur Rugby League and for the Australian Aboriginals. It's the very first time they've been over here in this country, so yet again setting another landmark in the history of the amateur game. The teams then for this afternoon's fixture: Yorkshire first. The fullback is Ian Morse. The three-quarters, Paul Gardner, Richard Warden, Chris Parr and Steve Penny. And the half-backs, Stan Smith and Wayne McCombs. In the forwards for Great Britain, led by captain Paul Goodall with the number 8 shirt on, hooker Gary Ainsley and blindside prop Matt Gummersall, and the back three, Dave Birdsall, Graham Summerscales and John Bates. The substitutes for Yorkshire, Gary Megson, Darren Vine, Rob Charlesworth and Craig Ward. And for the Australian Aborigines, at the fullback is Brock Anderson, three-quarters Jeff Wallington, Mark Mundine, Alf Duncan and Bronson Ryan, and the half-backs Cecil Heron and Dallas Waters, with the forwards Nathan Kelly, Brad Keed, Clive Toomey, Dean Widders, Anthony Munns and Craig Trinnell. And the substitutes for the Australians, Patrick Little, Jason Thorne, Guy Williams and Daniel Keenan. The referee for this afternoon, Mr. Rob Lawton from Barnsley. His touch judges Steve Wright and Craig Holloran, and don't know whether you could hear it in the background, but down on the touchline side here, the Aboriginal elder with the didgeridoo. He's been giving a little bit of entertainment to the crowd in the top end of the stand, and certainly a character in his own right. So then the lineups, the Yorkshire County side just been presented to the dignitaries, led by Kath Hetherington. I beg your pardon, it's not, it's certainly a Kath Hetherington look-alike, but the leader of the Kirklees Council, and of course the barla officials behind. So then it's a good game in prospect here. The weather slightly overcast, it has been raining this morning, but the pitch in fine condition. And there goes the didgeridoo echoing behind us.
Given this full credit, the Aboriginal didgeridoo man is Munura.
And certainly getting a warm round of applause from the crowd here in the stand as the dignitaries continue their introductions to the various players on the two respective sides. They say the Aboriginal tour started last weekend over at York with the first ever game on British soil by an Aboriginal side. They overpowered the York side quite convincingly by 32 points to 10, but then went on midweek to Humberside to take on Hull and East Riding, and suffered the first defeat of 26-30 in a very, very tightly contested game. But, this afternoon, all could well be different. It's the first time they've faced a full representative side insofar as it's a county game. And for the rest of the itinerary after this, they move on next week, or during the week, to Barrow. They take on Cumbria County at Barrow next Thursday night, and then the first test match on Sunday the 13th. That's at Workington. Lancashire County at Lee, and the tour winds up on the 20th of October with the second test match at Salford. But it's County Cup action, it's County Cup. That was yesterday, of course. It's county action for them this afternoon. Quite a strong side out for Yorkshire, and no doubt the very, very healthy looking crowd here at Mount Pleasant looking forward to an afternoon's entertainment of fast, open rugby league football. The match officials in the centre there just explaining to the two respective captains what they expect of them, how they will be applying the rules, and those rules will be applied strictly according to the book, one would imagine. All the game of rugby league now, of course, played under the same rules. We've now managed to get away from the differences that occurred last season, and we'll explain those as we go on, in case there are any people in doubt as to what exactly they are. Looks as though Yorkshire have won the toss. They've elected to play down the slope here at Mount Pleasant, so it's the Aborigines to start this game. right to left as we look at it. Referee Rob Lawton just having a few final words with those players before we get this game underway. Crowd still coming into the stand here, but all about ready to go there. Mr. Lawton checks with his top touch judge, looks at his watch, and away we go. So it's loose forward Craig Trinnell with the honours of starting this game for the Aboriginals, but they're well taken there by the Yorkshire defender coming down this Mount Pleasant slope. It was Ian Morse, the Normanton fullback there, taking the first touch of the ball for Yorkshire. Stan Smith then just settling things down in the middle of the field. It's Matt Gummersall driving in towards the halfway line, but well met by Clive Toomey, the Aboriginal number 10. Paul Goodall, the County Yorkshire captain, tackled just inside the Aboriginals' half of the field. That's John Bates there taking play and settling it down as the scrum half Wayne McCombs just puts the ball down, tries to test those two, and a little bit of misunderstanding between Bronson Ryan and Brock Anderson there in the defence. Fortunately for the Aboriginals, it didn't come to anything. There was no mistake, but they've now got the hard task of working their way back up this Mount Pleasant slope, and I'm sure they're going to realise just how steep a hill it is by the time they get to the end of the first 40-minute period. Yorkshire will be wanting to keep them penned down inside that half of the field. It's placed some 25 metres away from the Aboriginals line at the moment. And Trinnell worming his way, gets a nice ball out there to centre half Duncan. Duncan, though, just going round in a bit of a circle, proving a bit of a handful to put down, but eventually goes to ground. Gary Ainsley, the Dayton Woolpack hooker, finally putting him down, and that's a kick up. Ian Morse just adjusting his position as he goes for that ball, but good chase there by Jeff Wellington for the Aboriginals, driving Yorkshire back up into their own 30 area. Yorkshire then settling things in the centre of the park there. Matt Gummersall on the 30-metre line, and the ball infield now. The run coming straight forward from Stan Smith, the standoff half, and it's Ainsley going on his own from acting half-back. Almost hits the halfway whitewash. It's the last one in the set of 6. Referee Lawton with his arm in the air, and the kick straight downfield there by McCombs, taken without any problem at all by fullback Anderson. Anderson just weighs up the position of the opposition, steps around the outside, but hesitation there prevented him getting a clean break, and so it's left to Bronson Ryan to attempt to get away from those Yorkshire tacklers, but not so on this occasion. A big fella there, Clive Toomey. I think he's going to feel the effects of this hill before the end of the first 40 period. Certainly doesn't look a very mobile type of prop, certainly not the type of prop we're used to seeing in the modern game of rugby league these days. Ball switched out to the right-hand side by Dallas Waters. 5 metres then from the halfway line. Dean Widders making almost a mess of that play. The ball, in fact, looks as though it may be inches of the second rower. And it's a kick ahead there by Waters. Taken on that far wing by Gardner. Good run away there by Gardner, make valuable yards towards the halfway line. And it's McCombs now, 10 metres from that halfway line, inside his own half of the field. Yorkshire then, within sight of the halfway line, should cross it on this tackle. Ball switched infield there to Gummersall. Gummersall making a good break, looks to offload, but decides possession is the best option at that particular time. Yorkshire then, and the mistake there by centre Chris Parr, the Clayton centre, on the last tackle, knocking on, so possession surrendered. But not a bad set of 6 there as far as Yorkshire were concerned. They came from their own 10 to the Aboriginals 10, so quite a good set of 6 as far as they were concerned. Dummy runner there, shielding Clive Toomey, the number 10 for the Aboriginals. And it's the ginger hair there of Anthony Munns, just keeping things going in the middle of the field. The Aboriginals just looking for that little bit of inspiration. And that standoff half there, Cecil Heron certainly provided that inspiration there, putting Mark Mundine into half a gap. The centre doing very well to get within sight of the Yorkshire 30. Step inside, certainly the Aboriginals certainly keeping this ball alive, and a good ball in there, but certainly surely a knock on. The opportunity was there, but the other came, and so it's Yorkshire who will have the head and feed on this scrum. The scrums now, of course, all forming no closer to the touchline than 20 metres, so in spite of where the offence may take place or the breach of the rules may take place that will result in a scrum, that scrum will set 20 metres in from the touchline side if it's between there and the touchline. Certainly gives more options as far as the attacking side are concerned, with the opening up of the short side and bringing the centre of the field more into play, so the options are greatly increased for attacking rugby. Yorkshire then running towards the 10 from halfway line, but well tackled there by Widders, the second rower. Gummersall. Good driving, good work there by the Yorkshire prop. A little chip over, well regathered there by McCombs. McCombs, lovely inside ball to loose forward John Bates, but Bates not able to hang on to that one, but a beautiful little chip over the top by Wayne McCombs. Looked as though it may have developed into a try, but if only Bates had been able to hang on to that pass. It was a nice flip inside pass from the scrum half, and all that's resulted is possession was lost, and the Aboriginals have come away with possession, and now they've received a penalty just inside their own half of the field for laying on at the play of the ball, but that not finding touch. Palm back inside. That's a bad mistake by the Australian boys. Graham Summerscales there, the giant second rower from Shawcross, hitting off those would-be tacklers as though they were flies. Smith from acting half-back, but scooting there, but not really getting anywhere. Or the referee there, quite rightly, adjudging that the Australian boy had not been standing square, moved off the mark far too quickly, so it's a penalty to Yorkshire, just 7 or 8 metres inside the Australian half of the field. Chris Parr, it will be, who will attempt to find touch on that far side of the field. Good high kick. Finding touch, taking play right down to that Australian 20-metre line. Looking for something, probably a couple of drives set up initially by Gary Ainsley, the hooker, and then probably putting a set move on as play comes towards the post. First drive taken in there by Gummersall. Ainsley again acting half-back, the drive going in again there, but certainly the Australians standing back a little bit there and waiting for the man to come to them instead of perhaps attacking it. A nice inside switch there to Summerscales. Summerscales dragged down within inches of that line, and the ball not played correctly, I suspect. Yes, referee Lawton saying that Summerscales had not regained his feet before playing that ball. Another change in the rules, of course. You must now have your knees off the floor. Little tap up to himself there by Munns. Centre Mundine then working that short side, looking for the gap up the outside to work with his wingman, but the Yorkshire defence certainly very tight over there. Operating a very strict marking system at the moment at Yorkshire. Each man seems to know who his man is. Switch back into the centre of the field there by Waters to Heron. But again, possession surrendered. This time it's Stan Smith for Yorkshire, picking up the loose pieces. Just coming up to 10 minutes of the first half. Then still no score in this this game, but both sides still really feeling each other out, searching out, looking for the weaknesses in the opposition's defence. Summerscales offloads in the tackle there. Fullback Ian Morse taken rather high by Alf Duncan. Penalty awarded by the referee for a tackle in the head area, just telling the Australian lads to keep the tackles down. A message which appears to have got through to them anyway by the acknowledgement signal received. So Alf Duncan, I beg your pardon, it's Chris Parr looking to have a shot at goal. He's some 30 metres out and just about 10 in from the touchline side, so it's not a difficult kick. For the opening score then, probability. Right-footed kicker, of course, is Parr, so it's from the right-hand side. It's not exactly from the right side of the field because he's not exactly round the corner, he's just slightly round the corner kicker. But that looks good. Straight through the middle of the post, so then the opening score there for Yorkshire, that penalty by Chris Parr, successfully executed, giving Yorkshire 2 points to nil lead. That score then coming in the 12th minute.
And the substitution for the Aboriginals, number 16, Guy Williams, replacing number 10, Clive Toomey.
Clive Toomey already off the field. Not many moments ago I was suggesting that he may find it difficult coming up the hill here, but a player of his size has been substituted by 16 Guy Williams, so maybe a little bit more mobility from Williams. Yorkshire then get the game back underway. That's another rule change this season, whereby the scoring side do restart the game. Now common within both professional and amateur game is that restart rule. Dean Widders there just turning the shoulder as he was about to be tackled. Overhead tackle there, overhead ball there, really almost could be considered as a hospital pass there to Bronson Ryan. He was left with very little option. He took the ball, it was going over his head anyway, he took the ball but found himself bundled into touch by the advancing Yorkshire defenders. Scrum forms then 20 in from touch and 10 metres inside the Aboriginals' half of the field. Referee not satisfied that that scrum was down, and certainly the Aboriginals loose forward not packing down either, so you have to watch yourself if he's not going to be penalised. But nice sweeping ball over the far side there. Just a wee bit of a flop there from the Aboriginal defender, not picked up by referee Lawton, preferring to allow the game to flow. Morse in the line there from the fullback position, linking with the forwards. Offloading in the tackle, keeping the ball alive at Yorkshire now. McCombs gets the ball out there to centre Richard Warden, but oh, the chance is bombed. The knock on. I'm not really sure where the referee is going here. I thought that ball had been knocked forward and then touched down by a Yorkshire player in the in-goal area, so for my mind that would have been a scrum, but there we go. He's given a 20-metre restart, and the Aboriginals are not complaining about that one. Munns releases the ball there Brock Anderson certainly being put to ground quite unceremoniously there. First run there, early touch for Guy Williams, the replacement. And the ball switched inside now. It's Waters with a kick ahead, looking to test the Yorkshire defence, but the ball just that little bit too strong. Just about managing to go over the dead ball line. Touching goal judges as well, or in goal judges also present this afternoon, lifting a considerable amount of responsibility off the touch judges and the referee, making their jobs far much easier. Play then on the halfway line. Yorkshire working their way downfield once more. They're looking for a little bit more penetration, I would suspect. They've had 2 opportunities to score the tries, but neither actually being converted to points on the board. They're certainly showing plenty of opportunity, and I feel as this game settles, those opportunities will be converted into points. Chris Parr on the far side, refusing to be tackled. Back for the kick for Morse. In fact, it's not Morse, beg your pardon, it's Wayne McCombs, the scrum half. So not really finding the gap. And dummies offered there, and Yorkshire taking them. The full-back, Brock Anderson, doing extremely well there. Getting to 10 metres inside the Yorkshire half before being put down, and the Aboriginals now putting the, quite a good few number of passes together. And creating the breaks, pushing Yorkshire back, but referee Lawton there spotted that the Yorkshire defensive line had not made the 10 metres at the last play of the ball, decided to play the advantage, and when there was no advantage obvious, he then gave the penalty. So that ball safely in touch on the far side. Brad Keed it is, who will get the second phase of the penalty away. And Kelly, Nathan Kelly, but loses the ball in the tackle, under the weight of the tackle. And you certainly can't afford to do that on the first tackle. Ball security in a position like that is absolute paramount, and I'm sure the Aboriginals coach will be quite disappointed by that. There's still a little bit of a knee going in there from Kelly. McCombs tackle then 30 metres from his own line in midfield as Yorkshire now look to build on this, but they've already used 5 of the allocated 6, and it's going to have to resort to the kick and the boot from Chris Parr. And again, not really finding the gap in the defence, more like finding the players as though it was a bar of metal to a magnet. Anderson, a little step inside, just the shimmy, but it was sufficient there to wrong foot the defence and give the Aboriginals the opportunity to build on it. Certainly the full-back looking very adventurous, and certainly one of the most skillful so far of the Aboriginal players. He's got a nice little side step at fair old turn of speed, and he's causing Yorkshire a fair amount of trouble. Centre Alf Duncan there also causing the problems. Yorkshire certainly not getting the tackling together at the moment. Bronson Ryan at acting half-back, gets the ball inside to Heron. Loose forward Craig Trinnell on the ball, went backwards. It's still the last tackle, or the referee calls for the last tackle, I should say. Trinnell now gets the ball inside to Heron. Heron offers a dummy, but second row Anthony Munn's unable to take that ball, but the referee spotted the knock on. It was the last tackle, so it's a handover, and really Yorkshire finding themselves in no end of trouble there, as Brock Anderson first of all it was, and then centre Alf Duncan breaking the defence with apparent ease, but the line held intact, and Yorkshire lived to breathe another day.
Come on guys, watch it.
Lost ball in the tackle there. Certainly ball possession is going to have to be sorted out by Yorkshire. Looked as though it was John Bates there, the culprit, who put that ball down. handing the advantage back to the Aboriginals. And again, it's a standoff. It's standoff. Heron linking with Duncan there, setting up the opportunity for the Aboriginals. Play now some 20 metres from the Yorkshire line, but Waters just looking for the support on his outside, and the support in fact had gone. It was all inside him, but now the support is over the far side of the field. Craig Trinnell, the loose forward, gets the ball out to centre Mundine, out to the wingman Wellington. Wellington, is he in? No, he's just held short. Some really good scrambling defence there by Yorkshire, preventing Wellington getting that score. But still the attack not over yet. The danger's certainly not gone as far as Yorkshire's concerned. That ball going backwards, says the referee. Anderson again gets the ball into Duncan. Duncan going to score, is he? No, it's another last-ditch tackle preventing that score. Duncan, the danger man on that occasion once more. Wellington having come all the way over from the far wing on this side of the field now. A couple of metres in from touch, and very, very short of the line there as Waters gets the ball in field. Heron out there to second row Munns. Munns is going to score. That's the first score of the match on try-wise. It's gone to the Aboriginals. Anthony Munns, the man who put the ball down, but the architect of it all really was standoff Cecil Heron and Alf Duncan. They did all the donkey work. The ball went across field through the hands of Waters, and it was Anthony Munns who was in the gap there to put the final touches to it. So 4 points on the board for the Aboriginals. Trailing, you'll recall, up to that point by that penalty from Chris Parr on the 11th minute. That try coming 21 minutes into the first half. So the conversion attempt from the far side of the field. Left-footed kicker should be able to hook this one in. Courtesy of the posts. Jeff Wellington, the man responsible for that conversion, and pushing the score on now to Yorkshire 2, the Aboriginal 6. So then Yorkshire certainly had plenty of possession in this opening 20 minutes, but they've had two opportunities to score tries, having missed both of them. I think really that was the first serious attack that we could look at from the Aboriginals, and they've been threatening with good breaks into in the centre of the field, particularly by Brock Anderson, the fullback, and eventually put it all together there. They got the score. Took a little bit of getting. First of all, Wellington held short on the far side of the field, then Duncan held short on this side of the field, but the score coming after the ball was switched back to the centre of the field, and as you saw, Anthony Munns, the man who got the points. So 6 points to 2. Craig Ward then the substitute going on for Yorkshire. Matt Gummersall, the prop being replaced. Yorkshire then got to get their act together if they're going to get into this game. I just felt earlier along it looked as though they may well just need to build the confidence between each other, and the tries and the points would come, but that's not really been the case. Just shows you how early impressions can deceive. Yorkshire then looking to break down the centre of the field, but as was just shown by the Aboriginals, the wide ball is the one that seems to do the work. Anderson then bravely going in for that ball, successfully gaining the possession, and it's wingman Bronson Ryan running towards the touchline side there. Perhaps would have been better trying to straighten things up, but did manage to stay in field from touch, as it's now 16 Guy Williams. And again Waters breaking into the Yorkshire half of the field. And Hooker Keed gets the ball away there too. Widders. And again the Yorkshire tacklers just standing back and letting centre Mark Mundine on that occasion a fair amount of freedom. And Cecil Heron now in the position. Again it's Alf Duncan. Duncan though tackled 12 metres from the Yorkshire line. It's the last tackle. Referee Lawton with the hand high in the air. And Heron gets the ball, chips it through for the chase, but the chase not particularly good. The ball, if anything, just a wee bit too strong. Oh. Yorkshire regain possession, but still penned deep in their own half of the field. And they really do need some points in this first half to give them the confidence to come back up this slope in the second period. Morse gets the ball across there, and just a bit of a juggling going on, but it's a strong run in there by, looks like Paul Goodall. In fact, the referee pulled the Aboriginals back for not having been offside, and then they questioned the decision, so it's another 10 metres and gives Yorkshire the opportunity to launch the attack from inside the Aboriginals half instead of their own half. Chris Parr then putting the ball safely into touch on the far side, and Yorkshire just wait for the ball coming back from the middle of Batley. Patiently waiting there is Gary Ainsley to get the game going. So 30 metres out then, the first drive going in there. Good 10-metre yard. 10 metres gauge, I should say, not metres and yards, different things. Loose forward, John Bates. Now it's McCombs. McCombs offering the ball to his stand-up, instead gives it to Summerscale. Summerscale spins in the tackle, but hung on to by Dallas Waters. But the move has not broken down. Well, it has now. It certainly has now. Again, a bit of indecision there between looked like Gary Ainsley and Standoff Smith. So that scrum forming 10 metres from the Aboriginals line. Their head and feed, and naturally we expect to see the ball come out at the back of their loose forwards' feet. Occasionally things do work out differently, but not on this occasion. And it's Bronson Ryan with the job of running that ball away from the danger area. Aboriginals coming to run up the centre of the field. Again, it's Brock Anderson, the fullback. He loves to run up the centre of the field as this fullback, loves to join in the attack. Interesting to see what he'd be like, though, if he's put under pressure in defence. Quite often attacking fullbacks are not over good in defence. That's a big busting run there. The Yorkshire players there certainly felt the weight of Clive Toomey. Unforced error there coming, really. The Aboriginals just trying to push that ball a little bit too much. Scrum down then right on the halfway line. McCombs, tough feed for Yorkshire, gets the ball out of the back onto Smith. Smith just looks for the options out to his left hand side, decides the better one is to take on the defence, let his forwards break from the scrum and reform, but the Yorkshire forwards there, you could have actually covered them all with a postage stamp. They were so close together after that scrum had broken. They didn't break away quickly, and they haven't given the rest of the side the opportunity to build an attack. Coming now then is the second row, Dave Birdsall. Birdsall on a run, but the defence certainly up to it there. Smith. And it's Ainsley acting half-back. Gets the long ball out to McCombs. McCombs puts the high ball over, but he had plenty of opportunities to move that ball out wide. He had a couple of tackles left in the six. Certainly seemed to take the wrong option. Perhaps if he was going to do that, the grubber kick may have been a better option. Clive Toomey certainly thought he'd gone on the bench for a while. Maybe just came back on whilst we're not paying too much attention. Anderson, in the meantime, gets to within 5 metres of the halfway line. And Yorkshire certainly struggling to get back to that 10 as they come back up the hill. Widders gets the ball out to Wellington. Wellington, the wingman, on the far side of the field, wrapped up by the Yorkshire defence over there. And the ball in field now. It's Waters gets the ball out, looks for Hurren. Hurren puts the chip kick through. Well picked up there by Duncan. Duncan onto the loose forward back to Dallas Waters. And it's basketball stuff over there, and the tackling not really being done by Yorkshire, but they do get away with it. Good enterprising stuff there by the Aboriginals. Almost cost Yorkshire dearly, did that one. Ten metres from the halfway line, inside the Yorkshire half. The kick coming in then from McCombs, kicks down but straight down the throat of Brock Anderson, almost as though it was intended for him. Oh, the little shimmy there, the kick of pace to take that full back well into the Yorkshire half. My words, what a good game Anderson's having. He's causing no end of trouble to this Yorkshire defence, as equally are the two half-backs, Hurren and Waters. And still being allowed to get away with the ball there. Dean Winders standing there waiting, in fact really expecting the ball to be played, but the ball came out from the tackle, and it's Williams. 10 metres from the Yorkshire line, 15 metres in from this near touchline side. Ball across the field, moves swiftly between the scrum half, Waters and Hurren. Onto Wellington, but a bit of obstruction there, a bit of crossing. Well spotted by referee Lawton. Again, giving Yorkshire some much needed relief. 8 minutes then of this first half remains. 6 points to 2. The score in favour of the Aboriginals. Ball switched back inside there for the drive, but the Aboriginal boys well up to that tight move. 10 metres inside the Aboriginal half of the field then. Yorkshire now coming forward but tending to run in ones. It's looking for the support player, but it wasn't there then. Certainly there now. There's Morse, but Morse block tackle there by Hurren. Birdsall 20 metres out. Last tackle called by the referee. McComb gets the ball out there to Bates. Bates kicks over the top. Does he regather? He does in fact look to weave it forward, but nonetheless the referee's given the try. The pass before the one that went to the try scorer certainly looked a little bit forward from here. Difficult to tell. The referee, the man on the spot. But certainly they kept the ball alive there, did Yorkshire, and got the try that they've been threatening to score. They've had the opportunities so far, but they've put them down. But the handling was safe and secure there. Got them the 4 points they so desperately needed if they're to go in at half-time with the lead, which they certainly need to do. That try then coming to 7 minutes from the end of the first period. With the conversion to come. Chris Power will be attempting to convert that try to add to his 11th minute penalty. Certainly gives it plenty of air, but the confirmation coming from the touch judges that the attempt was good, so Yorkshire regain the lead. This solitary Chris Path penalty in that 11th minute being the 2 points difference between the two sides. Our man on the scoreboard can't add up. 7 points to 6, he says. We reckon it's 8 points to 6, but Chris Parr then converting his own try.
The try there to the Yorkshire County was by number 4, Chris Parr, who converted himself.
The only point scorer for Yorkshire so far. He's responsible for all 8 points, but all comes from teamwork in the end, so it doesn't really matter who puts the points on the board as long as they go. A little knock on there, that ball lost. In fact, the player just been half dropped on his head. It was not exactly a spear tackle, but it wasn't all that far away. Certainly not too sure where he is at the moment, just shaking the head, making sure the marbles are all in place before he regathers his place in that defensive line. Yorkshire in the meantime looking to build on that try now. 30 metres out, right in the middle of the field, and it's the hooker Gary Ainsley operating the acting half position. Ian Morse there linking in once more with the line. No acting half in place there. Ainsley, the man, having to scamper some 10 metres to get there. But, the ball security of Yorkshire there somewhat wanting as the ball goes down to ground with only 3 tackles of the set absorbed. So Yorkshire obviously keen to get some extra points on the board, but not at any cost. They've got to make sure that they do keep this ball tight and keep hold of possession when they have it, because if they give possession away, as we've seen already in this first half, these Aboriginals, particularly the fullback, have got the pace and the remarkably quick injection of pace off the mark to take them by surprise and convert what was a defensive situation into a very much threatening attacking situation. Toomey then, the blindside prop, just short of the halfway line. Widders at acting half-back. Widders going on his own, but wrapped up there by John Bates, 10 metres inside the Yorkshire half of the field. Tries scorer Munns there, puts a high ball, not going anywhere in particular, but gathered by Mundine on the far side of the field, gets the ball out to Wellington. Wellington inside, but looked forward, certainly looked a forward pass. Referee Lawton agrees. So then it's a handover. It was on the last tackle. That's the reason why the ball is being played. Graham Summerscales, the second rower, holds the ball high in the air to indicate that he's about to play it. As the Yorkshire forwards now being called upon once more to get this ball deep into the opposition territory. Birdsall, the Fryston second rower there. And the Aboriginals suggesting he dropped it. I couldn't see, his body was in the way, but Summerscales now offloads there, gets the ball back to standoff Smith. So nice step inside there by Parr on the far side of the field, but yet again Yorkshire have used up 5 of those 6 tackles. It's been called upon for the deep kick, and once more the magnetic Anderson in the A1 position for that kick. Yes. Certainly a high tackle there, an arm coming out, flying out there by Dave Birdsall. And one which was almost a despairing arm. It certainly wasn't a haymaker or anything like that. It finished up more of a slap across the face than anything particular, but difficult man is Anderson to tackle. He steps to his left, he steps to his right, he shimmies, he stops, he starts, and it's very, very difficult to tackle a guy like that, particularly when he also employs the tactic of ducking as he's coming through. Certainly liable to catch the odd knock, but doesn't look any worse the way for his for what he received there. So then referee Lawton having awarded the penalty. And again Not touch, not found. That's a bad mistake by the Aboriginal. Certainly you must find touch in those situations. Gives the advantage straight back to Yorkshire now. Ainsley acting halfback. Summerscales driving through, looking for the offload. Well, the offload comes, but it comes to the Aboriginal player who just hadn't got back with the defence. And certainly the breaks that Summerscales is making up the centre of the park, it does need somebody following him to pick off those offloads, because he does put the offload in very, very well as he turns and spins in the tackle. And again, that certainly looked a little bit more mischievous by Birdsall. It looked like an elbow that led. The last one was certainly accidental, was a high tackle, but well, lucky chappy, and again not found touch. Well, they certainly have got to do something about finding touch, and centre Duncan there just decided that he might have a crack, but in fact the referee brings the proceedings to an end for the first half of this game. It's been a pretty well balanced first half. 8 points to 6 to score. All the Yorkshire points coming from Chris Barr, the 11th minute penalty, the 34th minute try and conversion, and Anthony Munn scoring a lovely finish try for the Aboriginals. The second row crossing close to the post. Jeff Wellington having very little difficulty with the conversion, but as we go in for the half-time break, it's Yorkshire 8, the Aboriginals 6. Well, welcome back to the second half of this Yorkshire County game. Australian Aboriginals, of course, providing the opposition. Yorkshire leading at the half-time break just by those 2 points. A try apiece. It's the penalty goal of Chris Parr in the 11th minute that separates the two sides. But certainly Yorkshire are going to have to put the game together a little bit more solidly than they did in the first period if they're to take the advantage of the victory at the end of the game. And certainly these big props of the Aboriginals are going to have a field day if Yorkshire aren't careful as they come down this slope, as demonstrated very ably there by the number 16 Guy Williams. Hooker Brad Keed taking play 15 metres from the Yorkshire line, almost in front of the post, and a look to switch that ball back inside to this side. In fact, the Aboriginals stacking this side, overweight this side as far as the players concerned. What a soft try really that one was. Yorkshire bought the dummy, hook, line and sinker. He only sold 2, but my words, they took them both. Cecil Heron going in there for probably the easiest trial score on the tour. Yorkshire standing back, looking at him, admiring the fact that he was waving the ball about when they should have been doing the tackling, and that will certainly not help the cause. That try barely more than a minute into the second period. The conversion opportunity by no means as easy as was the try, but no doubt Jeff Wellington will certainly be giving it his best. There's a fairly strong wind blowing here. It does tend to swirl at Mount Pleasant in spite of its high position and exposed position. The wind tends to swirl about a fair amount, and Wellington will not have the easiest of tasks, but we shall see in a moment or two whether indeed he is up to the task. Well, certainly if that is anything to judge just how the second half is going to go, then from what I thought was looking as though it ought to be a reasonably comfortable victory for Yorkshire in the first 15 minutes, it could well in fact turn to be exactly the opposite. But, the left boot then applied, but the wind holding that ball back. The distance, the accuracy was not too bad. The ball was curling in, and that's just swapped over that points difference to the opposite direction. It's now 2 points in favour of the Aboriginals, 8 points to 10 their lead. And this is the problem that we're going to face here, is that this ball kicked back to Yorkshire deep in their own half of the field. They've got a long way to work it back up. Of course, the old way of restarting after a score was you kicked to the side who had scored it and gave back that possession to them. But at a ground like this, you were kicking up the hill, which is a tremendous amount of difference. Yorkshire then, the architects of their own problems at the moment, as that ball spilled. And certainly look at this, the scooting across on another try, a scoop try across there, centre Alf Duncan it was who scored it. 2 tries in the space of 2 minutes for the Aboriginals. They overloaded this right hand side of the field. Of course, the Yorkshire defenders have got to cover that overload, but the long ball out found the centre Alf Duncan in an ocean of space on the far side of the field. They're just leaving the 2 players wide out on the wings, a centre somewhat short, 10 metres in from touchline, the winger out on the wing, and an enormous gap in the centre of the park, with the entire rest of the field of the playing strength stacked on the right hand side of centre field. Quick hands, quick hands, good handling, and that's what you get, the points on the board. So from being 2 points in arrears at the break, the Aboriginals now find themselves 6 points to the good, with the conversion attempt from Wellington yet to come. Certainly giving it plenty of view. Strikes it hard, strikes it well, but he doesn't get the accuracy, and he will be disappointed with that. But nonetheless, 8 points in a couple of minutes for the Aboriginals, putting a dramatic change on the scoreline now, 8 points to 14 in their advantage. Loose forward Trinnell to restart. Going to push this ball deep into this bottom corner to the bottom right hand side. I suspect the right boot applied, but not giving it any air there, just pushing it on the floor, making McComb have to trap that ball and giving the Aboriginals chasers the chance to get up quickly and keep the Yorkshire boys deep in their own half of the field. 10 metres from the halfway line, then Yorkshire come forward. It's Gary Ainsley scooting from the acting half position, going on the inside. The defence expecting him to come on the short side. Summerscales now working hard, looking for the opening, looking for the opportunity to get his backs in operation, but 5 of the 6 tackles used, and Yorkshire having to come back for the kick. And for the first time really, Brock Anderson not attacking that football, allowing it to bounce and roll past him, not taking full advantage of the fact that the ball did come to him. But a good break there, and still not really tackled. It's wingman Wellington, eventually stopped by his opposite number Gardner, but the Aboriginals now appearing to gain control and confidence with each pass that takes place. Toomey, 15 metres inside the Yorkshire half of the field. Trinnell, the loose forward, takes play on another 5 metres, and Keed points to his left but comes to his right. Standoff Heron. There's slight shades of obstruction there as the player went through and took a Yorkshire player out, as he did, of the defensive line. But now it's Waters running across the face of play, needs tackling, offloads, but only as far as the Yorkshire player. A needless pass there by Dallas Waters, and the referee just signalling there that that was the 0 tackle. Ball out out then to the Yorkshire right-hand side. 10 metres from the halfway line. Play switched up that short side of the field, breaking into the Aboriginals' half. McComb gets the ball onto John Bates. The short cross loose forward. One or two of these Aboriginals going down in the tackle. And it's Summer Scales once more looking to create an opening, looking to breach that defence, but the Aboriginals seem to have certainly worked out that he is one of the key forward runners in the Yorkshire side. That was the last tackle, the kick ahead, just striking an Aboriginal player as he went, but Jeff Wellington picking up the pieces and getting good yards at the same time. Toomey on the halfway line, well tackled there by Summer Scales and hooker Gary Ainsley, but referee not satisfied with the fact that the Yorkshire players are getting up quickly enough and allowing the man to play the ball, so penalises Yorkshire, gives the Aboriginals the advantage of launching another attack at the Yorkshire line. Toomey driving in. Now it's Ainsley from the acting half position, gets the ball in. Waters skipping and dancing, being allowed to do so by the Yorkshire boys as they once more stand off and allow him the flexibility to do what he wants. Keed, acting halfback, gets the ball onto Heron. Heron a long ball out there to Anderson. Anderson links well on the far side to Mundine. Mundine just a metre short of the line. Gets the ball though back in field. It's Heron offering the ball, but Nathan Kelly driving towards that Yorkshire line. But good tackling there by Yorkshire, but there's a gap at the side of the post, so it's been filled now. There was a gap there at the side of those posts, and that ball, well, a bad play the ball by the Aboriginals, pounced on by the Yorkshire defender, gratefully saying thank you very much. But now with the enormous task of taking the ball some 90 metres upfield to the opposition try line. Two tackles of the allocated 6 users. Ainsley gets up, plays the ball. Summer Scales again being asked to do the donkey work. And Yorkshire not able to find the little break that's going to give them the opening to prise this defence apart, having to rely very much on the boot. But you can see there from the way that ball hung in the air that the wind is blowing down this slope. It hung and hung and hung forever, did that ball. Alf Duncan, the Aboriginal centre, all the time in the world to take the ball safely. Heron now offloads there to Trinnell. Trinnell going down the centre of the field, skips to his right but goes to his left. And Mundine not able to hang on to that pass as Yorkshire come away with the ball once more. This time it's Richard Warden. Gratefully regaining possession for Yorkshire. Summer Scales. 30 metres out, gets up, plays the ball quickly. Paul Gardner, the wingman, in possession. Not had many running opportunities, haven't the three quarters of Yorkshire this afternoon. It's another penalty, or a penalty there for laying on in the tackle. Gives Yorkshire that much needed relief, an opportunity to launch an attack into the Aboriginals' half or their 20 area. 14 points to 8 then the Aboriginal lead stands at the moment. 12 minutes of the second period gone. And some good tackling going on, some hard tackling going in, but there's some big drives going in as well by the Yorkshire players, and that really a pass to nowhere in particular by Stan Smith. Wayne McComb it was who managed to pick up the pieces and help set Ian Morse on a run, but a run to nowhere really. Standoff Smith there trying to chip through, fortunately being regathered by Yorkshire, and it's Smith once more. Smith looks to the options to the right, interception attempt there, wiped back, the slate's wiped clean, 6 more goes. Alf Duncan it was who just got the hand to it, and it looked as though there was a flying arm went in there on the Yorkshireman as he was going down in the tackle. An arm, I think, which flew more in despair than intent, but nonetheless it's certainly seems to have extinguished the odd light in the Yorkshire players' illuminations area. Yorkshire certainly lined up with a deep line towards this touchline side where we have our vantage point in the main stand at Mount Pleasant, looking to try to sort something out, get their attacking machinery in motion, but certainly when they do get the ball, the Aboriginals are coming up on them very, very quickly indeed, and certainly putting the tacklers in good and hard and stopping any flowing movement that Yorkshire may have ideas upon. 14 points to 8 then, and with Yorkshire uphill, it could be an uphill task for them, but they have an opportunity on now as the injured player regains his feet, gets up and plays the ball, and a good drive in there by the blindside prop Matt Gummersall. Yorkshire now with an opportunity if the ball comes quickly. So Summer Scales so good in defence and driving out of defence in difficult situations, not hanging on to that pass. And there was another opportunity has gone begging for Yorkshire. It's going to be it was a rare opportunity they've had in this second half, probably in fact the first time that they've actually been in possession so close to the visitors' line. And this usually is what happens, a mistake comes like that and presents the opposition with the relief they required and the opportunity to run, an opportunity that was the grasped with both hands at just about breaking out of their own half the field. Anthony Munns with the headgear on in this second half, lost possession there though, right under the nose of referee Lawton. Certainly this referee could on first glance be mistaken, physically at least and look-wise, for Russell Smith. Maybe the hairstyle is modelled upon that self-same gentleman's, I don't know. But you've got to talk about something when there's nothing happening, and what better than the identity of the referee. Scrum forming then some 15 metres inside the Yorkshire half the field. It's McCombs to feed, and certainly the Yorkshire pack having all on there to hang on to that possession, but the referee decides that the Aboriginals had broken from the pack before the ball had come clear of the ruck, so he's awarded the differential penalty to Yorkshire. And McCombs opts to take the tap and let Sanderson do the work, Summerscales rather, do the work that perhaps the boot might have done for him. Gardner running forward, but probably picks the biggest fella on the field in Nathan Kelly to run into, and the slight figure of Gardner bouncing off the big frame of Kelly. 20 metres inside the Aboriginals' half. A little shimmy there, a step in pace, and a lovely try here for the standoff. Stan Smith, but a little bit of magic work there by Wayne McCombs. He spotted half a gap. He just hesitated. It was sufficient to throw the defence. They thought he was going right. He dug his right foot in and came to his left, straightened up, found Stan Smith on his shoulder, and the standoff doing the rest underneath the post, and that certainly put a little bit of life back into the Yorkshire side, or it should have done, and it may well just dent the Aboriginals' confidence, because prior to that they were running strongly and they were certainly looking dangerous every time they had the ball in their hands. But that try brings the Yorkshire boys back to within 2 points, and surely Chris Parr will have the extra 2 to bring the scores level. The sure boot of Parr, making no mistake there. 14 points at ease. 17 minutes of the second period gone, so all level and all to fight for, as the expression says. And certainly what a lovely score that one was. It was one to remember as far as Smith was concerned, but what a lovely break by his half-back partner McComb. just saw the half gap, went for it, and the defence opened up. A defence which certainly so far in the second period had looked to be absolutely rock solid. Loose forward Craig Trinnell looking to get back towards the halfway line as prop Clive Toomey does in fact break the whitewash, but referee Lawton says the Yorkshire defence had not got back those 10 metres required that they play the ball. No advantage being gained, so the penalty awarded. Well, looking for another ball. That's 2 down in the middle of Backley, I think, now. In fact, just a little bit of a game going in the top corner of the field with the ball boys, who one insists on running all the way down to deliver it personally. Play then restarted as Toomey takes the drive in towards that Yorkshire 20-metre area. Nathan Kelly with the second drive takes play inside the 20. And now the Aboriginals looking to spread the ball, but switching back to the left-hand side. And this Anderson, who had such a good handling game in the first half, not taking that ball, and surely a try would have resulted had he done so, because he had 2 more outside him, all coming on at speed. Yorkshire then breathe easier again and look to move the ball again up into that other half of the field that belongs to the opposition. McComb on to Summerscales. Summerscales offloads in the tackle there to John Bates, but Bates tackled just short of the halfway line. Play still continues. The ball switched back inside to McComb, out the far into the far centre position. It's Richard Warden brought to ground on that halfway line, and certainly not being allowed to get up by Nathan Kelly. Referee Lawton being quite tolerant on that, the last tackle, and certainly Nathan Kelly making a bit of a mess there of Ian Morse as he put the kick in. Certainly took him after the ball had gone. Toomey, one white foot showing that the boots come off in the last tackle. But I don't think that will worry him too much as the ball offloaded in the tackle there. Anderson's steps, but well covered by the Yorkshire defence. Still, they've got the opportunity. They've got the numbers outside there of the Australians. Alf Duncan. 5 metres then from the Yorkshire line. The ball moving infield through the hands of Heron to Waters. Waters skims across field, finds Munns with the headgear on this half. Still being allowed to run, and still running. It's still going, gets the ball out. But, well, the opportunities that the Aboriginals had there, and the laxity in the defence by Yorkshire, allowing Munns to run so freely, was pretty poor to say the least. And that man looked as though he might have been offside. Certainly the way Jeff Wellington steamed up on his opposite number, Paul Gardner, from that high ball, just looked as though he might have been offside. Referee Lawton, though, judging that he wasn't, but he certainly got there very, very quickly. As it is, the ball was put over the in-goal area by the Yorkshire defender, so it'll be a drop out under those Yorkshire posts. 14 points apiece, midway through this second period. And into the wind, the ball's never going to go very far. Craig Trinnell taking it almost back to the Yorkshire 10 before being brought to ground. Looking as though the Aboriginals going to take play down the centre part of the park there, but hooker Brad Keed it was who, his hesitancy just stopped everything dead, as Dean Winders now goes back for the kick through, the kick going and the chase. But the try not given. It was a knock-on, says the referee. Looked as though Dean Withers, it was, I think, who scooted round, or Dean Withers who put the kick in, rather. And the centre scooted round to try and get that touchdown. Indeed, he did get the touchdown, but not before a little bit of a nudge forward had taken place in the meantime. So then McComb from the base of the scrum looking to set something up to get Yorkshire out of their own 20-metre area and into an area where they can be a little bit more creative. Bursts like that certainly do help. Play coming up the centre of the field. Matt Gummersall tackled a long ball out there. And certainly Gardner not really having many options there. The pass out, not the best of quality. And 5 tackles being used. The referee calls it quite clearly for all to hear. The left boot of Morse, I think, there applied to the ball. And well, it looked almost like a voluntary tackle there by Brock Anderson, but Brock Anderson gets up, runs away with the ball, and is allowed to do so by the Yorkshire defenders, who really stood off, and when they should have probably dropped on him or at least put a hand on him just to indicate that the tackle had been made. Jason Thorne then for the Aboriginals. Keed then up plays the ball. It's certainly a peculiar position for Dean Widders to pick the ball up, but pick it up he does, and just goes through the Yorkshire defence as though it was a knife through very soft butter. And 2 tries by the Aboriginals in this second period have certainly raised major question marks about the Yorkshire defence. Major question marks, and certainly about this right-hand side, or the left-hand side of the defence, right-hand as we look at it. Nothing particularly spectacular there. The second rower picking the ball up from the acting half position, going inside and then coming back to the right-hand side, and once again, regrettably, the Yorkshire boys stood off him and allowed him to score. So from what was a healthier position for Yorkshire, now they're going to look as though they're going to find themselves 6 points in arrears again. 14 apiece it was prior to that try. The try's taken it to 18-14, but the conversion attempt, which is about to be made this time by Craig Trinnell, Jeff Wellington being relieved of the kicking duties, not having been successful so far. Although, yes, he wasn't he? I do beg your pardon. He was successful, but Trinnell certainly successful with that one. And that makes it 20 points to 14 in favour of the Aboriginals, and some 15 minutes of the game left. So 3 tries then in this second period. The Aboriginals have scored. Hurren it was who opened out straight after half-time, quickly followed by Duncan, and then that 65th minute try by Dean Widders, pulling them back from that 2-point deficit at half-time, currently with a 6-point advantage, 14-20 in their favour at the moment. And Yorkshire deeply entrenched and camped in their own 20 area, and finding it ever more increasingly difficult to get away from there. Gary Megson being introduced, the back from Queens, as also has Craig Ward from East Leeds. But again, shows something of the difficulty of getting away from that area. 30 metres out as the last tackle in this set of 6 is called. The kick being forced and a knock-on ensuing. Penalty given there as the referee had actually called for the knock-on. The Aboriginal player half-tackled he was by Rob Charlesworth, who have already committed to the tackle, taking exception to the fact that he'd been tackled after the referee had called for the knock-on, but earns the wrath of the referee and the subsequent penalty against him. So then the second phase of the penalty be taken. Standoff Hurren it is to get things back underway. Beg your pardon, Standoff Smith. Matt Gummersall, the prop there, taking play up towards that 30-metre line of the Aboriginals. Smith on his own there from acting half-back. 5 metres gained. And Yorkshire with an extremely deep line out. McComb misses out the first man, gets Summerscales, inside switch ball by Summerscales there to Richard Warden. And it's Megson from the acting half, but gets the ball away from acting half to what? Bates, rather. Bates. Megson on there to McComb. McComb chips the ball through, but only as far as that the waiting arms of Jeff Wellington over the far side in the corner. Well, it looks like Jeff Wellington. In fact, it's Jason Thorne, the Aboriginals having done the switch, gone unnoticed by yours truly. Well, the second arm in the tackle there, just bouncing up and striking Toomey on the head rather than hitting him. It was a 3-man tackle. It looked as though it was the second tackler whose arm slipped over and caught him. Referee Lawton just telling the players to keep apart, and just a little bit of niggle creeping in between the odd one or two of them. There's certainly a bit of chat there between one of the Aboriginals and standoff Stan Smith. Surprisingly, Wayne McComb being brought off. McComb certainly being one of the architects of the moves as put on by Yorkshire. Rather surprising to see he's off. He doesn't look to be carrying an injury. Obviously must be a tactical change by the coach. But what an excellent touch finder that is to put Yorkshire right back on their own 30. Brad Keed waits for the ball so he can get play back underway. As we enter then the last 10 minutes of this contest between Yorkshire County and the Australian Aboriginals. 20 points to 14 their lead as they launch another attack towards the Yorkshire line. Second rower Dean Widders once more being given the freedom of movement that Yorkshire can really ill afford to give him. And that's a big run from the number 8 Kelly towards the line, and Yorkshire very much stretched over that side of the field as he went in. Fortunately the sliding defence got there, but I fear that Yorkshire will be penalised for that. You're not allowed to do that now. And now that penalty was certainly not taken from the point of the offence, and I think probably the Aboriginals somewhat lucky to be allowed to get away with that one. The ball, the first part of the penalty should be taken from where the offence occurred, but the Australians taking full advantage. Oh no, last ditch tackle there on Craig Tyndall, and it's Heron just trying to step inside that defence once more. Anderson, acting half-back, gets the ball into the centre of the park, misses out the scrum half, finds loose forward Tyndall though, and an easy enough try there as well. The hard work was done by the long ball across the field, but it's second row Dean Widders who's been threatening to break that defence so many times in this second period. Gets his second try. His first try, in fact, was the try previous to this one, but that one really now does look as though it takes the man away from Yorkshire. Sam Smith just announced as the Yorkshire County man of the match. And the scorer of that try, who's said caused so much problems to the Yorkshire defence in this second half. Second row Dean Widders deservedly getting the Aboriginals man of the match. So then, Trunnell looks to add the extras from right in front of the post to put the Aboriginals into really what is an unassailable position with somewhat less than 9 minutes of the game left. Comfortably between the posts, 26 points to 14.
And could I ask you please, the pitch has been reseeded, would you please keep off the playing area after the game? Thank you.
So then the restart awaits as referee Lawton just makes sure he gets the score correct in his own notebook. 26-14, we can tell him it is. And the kick deep. And there's something which I always find somewhat difficult these days to understand. Why the defence don't attack that ball and they allow it to bounce is a mystery to me and a lot of other people as well. Once that rugby ball bounces, it can go anywhere.
50, and on behalf of the Heavy Woolen Rugby League and also Yorkshire County, we'd like to thank you for your attendance. Thank you very much.
1,550 then, the official figure of those who have attended, and they have been treated to quite an entertaining afternoon of rugby league. Certainly plenty to look forward to in the two test matches in the middle of October. First at Workington, the second at Salford, and certainly the Aboriginals will pose a threat to the Great Britain side. Should be very, very interesting to see, but this game's certainly not over yet by any means, as Mark Mundine then sets up another attack for the Aboriginals. Patrick Little, man of the match, Widders, offloads there, but Anderson, in his anxiety to get on the score sheet, not able to hang on to that one. So Yorkshire get the ball back, and a good run away from defence there by fullback Ian Morse. The Normanton fullback certainly had a very solid game, but not had too many of the opportunities that he'd like to exploit, that is running from defence. Smith, the ball literally going anywhere, and Rob Charlesworth having to do the sweep up at the back. Entering then the last 5 minutes of this tour game, and back for the left boot of Morse, but again the wind taking control of the ball in the air. Anderson just having to steady himself while he got the ball, but a nice ball out there by Anderson to the substitute Jason Thorne on the far side, but an equally good tackling stint by the Yorkshire defence, forcing the player into touch. So then the scrum forming on that 20-metre mark in from touch, and just about 10 metres from the Yorkshire line. Yorkshire then to feed this scrum. Referee Lawton not satisfied the scrum was bound properly. A good half break there by Charlesworth. And the Aboriginals not having made the 10, no advantage at all as Yorkshire endeavour to get away from that area. Gary Megson, I beg your pardon, it's Darren Vine, the Eastmoor half-back, on at scrum half now. One, and no hope pass there to Smith from Gardner, just throwing away the opportunity of building on some good defensive work, and that penalty which was awarded for offside against the Aboriginals. Not to be those. Little breaks away back into the Yorkshire half of the field, 15 metres inside the Yorkshire half, in fact. Widders, long ball out there from Waters out to the far side, and the substitute Jason Thorne, well, he was tackled And it's Anderson now once more trying to launch an attack. Heron, last-ditch tackle there from Darren Vine, preventing Heron from making another hole in the defence, but there could be a score on here as it's Mark Mundine who gets in at the corner for the Australians. The speed of handling and the extra yard of pace of these Australians certainly telling now in the closing minutes as Yorkshire tire, after having had to face this hill in the second period with the big Australian pack bearing down on them virtually the entire half. "14 points then to Yorkshire at the moment, and looking for the conversion of this try. 5 tries, 6 tries scored so far by the Australians, giving a total of 30 points with the conversion to come. So Craig Trinnell then lines up the conversion attempt to what is surely the final score of the game. We're now on 40 minutes, or the full 80, and narrowly wide to the right hand side. Referee Lawton has a quick look at his watch but decides that there's still sufficient time for the game to restart. 30 points to 14 then, the Aboriginals lead. The tries for them coming, the last one there by Mark Mundine, Alf Duncan the other centre scoring just after the break, and Heron the standoff immediately after the break. Forwards Dean Widders had a couple of tries, 65 and 72 minutes, as did Anthony Munns. He scored the opener for the Australians in the first half. We've had 3 Craig Trinnell goals. That's taken their score to 30 points, and the Yorkshire County side, all the points in the first half coming from the hands and the boot of Chris Barr. 1 try, 2 goals, and then a conversion to that Stan Smith try in the second half that brought the scores level at 14 apiece. But the referee's whistle finally goes. A very much appreciative crowd showing their appreciation by a very, very good round of applause to all players. An excellent game of rugby league. It's all ended here at Mount Pleasant. Yorkshire County 14, the Australian Aboriginals 30. Thank you.